It's been over half a century since more than one true musical was nominated for Best Picture in the same year. But with Wicked and Emilia Perez up for the award in 2025, we get a rare opportunity to see how modern screenwriters inject big musical numbers into sweeping narratives with distinct formatting, music cues, and deft transitions. Standard dialogue doesn't have paragraph or line breaks.
This is my younger sister, Nessa Rose. As you can see, she's a perfectly acceptable color.
If you want to break up a character's speech, someone else will need to speak.
He's a bit mercurial, but give him time.
Mercurial? What do you mean?
Today he says yes, tomorrow he'll say no. By Monday, I think he's gonna say yes.
Sounds like someone...
Or you'll need to use narrative description.
If you can learn to use your powers in the right way.
Morrible, deeply moved, regards her new student.
Miss Alphaba.
Or a dialogue parenthetical.
Soy yo.
Covering the phone.
¿Le puedo decir que estás aquí? Sí.
But each line of a song, the lyrics, is actually followed by a line break.
The trouble with schools is they always try to teach the wrong lesson.
And verses are even given a paragraph break.
Que pasabas por aquí, así nada más. No me digas que viniste por casualidad. No me digas que viniste por casualidad. Dime que...
But it can still be a bit difficult to identify lyrics at a glance, which is why some musical screenplays will emphasize their lyrics in one way or another.
Why, I predict the wizard might make you his magic grand vizier.
The wizard.
Wicked uses one of the most common techniques for lyrical emphasis, all caps. But they also indent, or I guess outdent. Dedent? Shift the lyrics left a half an inch. And add a parenthetical if the switch to lyrics happens under a single character heading.
I know.
Sings.
But I don't want it.
Which all makes it super easy to identify words that are spoken versus sung, even within a musical number. But the Emilia Perez script doesn't leave us completely in the dark. To be clear, Wicked also uses music cues to mark the beginning of most of their songs.
Well, that's what I love best, making people happy.
Song, A Sentimental Man.
I am a sentimental man.
But Emilia Perez uses a notation you rarely see in drafts of musicals floating around online. A woman's voice, almost internal and halting, as if groping for her words in what sounds like a defense speech. 1M1, El Alegato.
Un caso común y corriente.
It's a notation mainly used by composers. And thanks to a great article from one such composer, Ryan Leach, I'm now familiar with it too, and you will be very soon. The song title portion should be self-explanatory, and the M just stands for music. But its true purpose is to separate the real and cue numbers. According to Leach, the cue number is meant to keep track of the song order within a reel, meaning it would reset to 1 when we reach a new reel. But Emilia Perez only counts up. And what's a reel anyway when most modern movies are shot digitally? Leach explains that nowadays, the reel number is usually based on largely arbitrary time increments determined by the specific project. But in Emilia Perez, I'm pretty sure the 5 reels are actually the acts, because the script was first conceived as a 5-act libretto, and the breaks seem to follow that structure pretty well. Though more recent coverage suggests it may have been 4 acts, so we can't know for certain. Do I still wish Emilia Perez emphasized their lyrics? Yes. But I wish a lot of things were different about Emilia Perez. And we'll be doing a separate video breaking down that screenplay, so subscribe if you want to see that. But there is one aspect of the musical numbers in the script that I actually thought was really well done. Wicked takes place in a fantastical world, making the transition to whimsical musical numbers pretty much a non-issue.
That's what makes me so nice.
Song, popular.
Whenever I see someone less fortunate than I, and let's...
They might be a heightened version of that reality, or lonely character monologues, but they still fit in seamlessly. But merging the gritty, grounded world of drug cartels with the fantastical nature of musicals is a much taller task. Sometimes it just doesn't work. At least, not for me. But most of the conversational songs totally do.
Doctor, but let me say I disagree.
Please?
And I actually really appreciated the script's approach to the more surreal musical numbers. Because of how it handles the transition into these sequences, keeps things clear and simple during them, and clearly exits back to reality. To start the song El Alligato, we read that Rita walks out into the empty street. She walks for a moment, lost in thought. It's a literal movement into a new space and a suggestion that we're in her head. Once the audience has bought in, things are kept clear and to the point. The milling crowd repeats her words like a slogan. And to keep the audience locked in, major breaks and distractions like slug lines are limited, with shorthand similar to how you might approach a montage or a series of shots being used instead, in the middle of what looks like a bustling market, a sidewalk cafe, with high stools, steaming dishes, and a sizzling barbecue. It then brings us out of the fantasy by juxtaposing it with something rigid, mechanical, and rushed. Pages come out of the printer. Rita takes them mechanically while rereading in a hurry. And in case that's not clear enough, we even get a literal segue out. Over a neutral background, we segue to feet and lower bodies, replaced by other feet and bodies. Feet of the rich soon replace those of the poor. The song Bienvenida begins a bit slower, but the transition into surrealism is clear on the page. Jessie leaps over the bright line to join her dark thoughts in their frenzied dance. Until we leave the fantasy just as clearly. Back to the point of departure, Jessie lands on her bed as if dropping from the ceiling. And in El Mal, the fantasy is even simpler. The story stays relatively grounded in the real-world environment while exploring Rita's mind. Rita walks up between the tables. She speaks, sings, but the audience is listening to the speech, and no one seems to hear her. And then we're literally shaken out of it with an earthquake that jolts us back to reality. Suddenly, a tinkling noise interrupts the hubbub. Chandeliers sway, their crystal prisms vibrate. An earthquake. Someone yells. Guests look up to the ceiling, raise their glasses. Now, you may have noticed that most of the clips from Emilia Perez were from Rita's perspective, rather than the titular character, Emilia Perez, the lead character, at least according to the Oscars. I think that has a lot to do with the unique framework of the controversial musical. A structure I explore in this video where I break down what I think works and where the script falls flat.